We are live 364 days a year. What are we doing here?
If Dom turns at SummerSlam, I'm shaving my moustache off. I told you, if that happens, it's going. My lip is cold because of a stupid bet that I made on YouTube.
Oh, good.
Wrestle's better than Daniel Bryan. Bryan Daniels better than Okada.
How do you not get 50 after Monday Night Raw?
What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. We're going to break down last night's SmackDown. We had all kinds of crazy stuff. We have a United States Women's Champion title change. We had a men's United States Championship match. It does appear that we're going to see some open challenges again. It's been a few weeks now. I dig it. It's working. We've got a bunch of other things to cover, but most importantly, I've got an awesome co-host hanging out with me. It's the first ever Wrestling Republic all West Coast show. So I just have to give a monster shout out and send this one to Palm Springs, to the desert. So my good friend Mary, how are you on this fine Saturday, my friend?
I am doing wonderful, wonderful new setup. We're getting all the kinks, all the woodworks finished. I watched SmackDown and I got a lot of questions, more than commentary, if anything. Lots and lots and lots of questions, but I'm excited. West Coast, Team West Coast, let's get it.
I could not agree with you more. I mean, I've got more questions than answers myself. We've got all kinds of good things here, too. We've already got comments out of the gates, too. Good friend of the show, Fernando Zayas with Good Afternoon, WR Crew. What's going on, Fernando, as always? He said congratulations to Chelsea Green. She was the right decision to win the United States title back. We're going to get into that, no doubt about it. Luis in the comments with let's kick this off, no doubt. And then we've got Adrian as well, the Marion Chief. Yes, absolutely. And then, yes, Ben did misspell Lash Legend from DCX Warlord. It's been a long weekend for Ben, so we're going to let him off the hook on that one. It just, we can just imagine that it's spelled correctly, right? Let's all pretend together on this one that the spelling is right. But let's talk about this United States women's title picture here, Mary, because Chelsea Green, obviously being the inaugural champion, was a big accomplishment. It's interesting working with the North American champion over on NXT. What we've seen on this run from Chelsea, for her to then go to the main roster and defeat Giulia and win the United States title, I thought was a wild play. And you and I both know Shad very well. He was not happy about this in the least. Chelsea Green, in her defense, I will say, I think has earned these opportunities. It just felt too much too soon in my eyes when it came to taking the title off Giulia. And it's not necessarily time to send Giulia back to NXT, but I want to get your thoughts before we get into this and break it down all the way.
And honestly, with that, I kind of agree with Fernando in the comments. I believe Chelsea is the right placeholder, but should she have lost it to begin with? That's what I feel like we're all asking right now is the loss what we're really sad about, or is it just the booking overall of the entire belt? We haven't seen that United States Championship on any pay-per-view since it debuted. It's been a SmackDown specific belt since it came out. I feel like overall the entire booking of just the title itself has just been very, 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 very poor. And rather not so saying the particular title holders did terrible runs in between, but I just say overall the belt just needs to be scrapped or just reworked, in my opinion.
I wouldn't say, I think scrapped is a bit extreme, and I'm not trying to argue with you out of the gates here, Mary, but just personally, I do believe that there is more steam for it, because I also think that Chelsea's first reign was excellent. And Donnie makes a point here where he says Giulia hasn't improved at all since joining WWE. That's something I disagree with, but he also said hasn't gotten over. I might agree with that. All she's done is make her manager seem like a bigger star. Chelsea was an easy choice to hand the title to. Yeah, that's fair. That's all fair. I do believe from the work that I've seen Giulia put in, whether it's NXT or her history before the WWE that we are missing the boat on Giulia. There was a reason that she was maybe I would call it, if you're a basketball fan, the Carmelo Anthony to LeBron James and Stephanie Vaquer when they were both signed to NXT. That's the way I've always sort of viewed Giulia, is she is that good. I think a little bit more time to let this all marinate, to let this all work out would have made sense. Maybe the US title was too soon, because this is one of those classic situations where, to me, it's sort of, Marion, I don't know if you agree with this. You know what it felt like? It felt like the intention was for the title to make Giulia, as opposed to Giulia making the title. And I think you needed to flip those, almost in the way that you have with the men's side of the US title picture between Sammy and Dragunov. And I'm curious as to your thoughts on that, Mary.
I agree with the sense of, like, how you said it. If the belt's supposed to make a person, or is the person supposed to make the belt? You know, in this case, I feel like creative thought the belt would make Giulia, but Giulia, I felt, wasn't ready for the belt. And I'm gonna hear it, but I just felt like they did her so dirty. They did her so dirty from when she had such her short NXT run to not even getting the main belt there for very long, to just be in this time warp all the way to SmackDown now, to have a wonderful mouthpiece as in Kiana James, and then it just all went flat. It just went flat from there. It went flatline. And I feel like the belt here didn't make the person.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm in agreement, but I've got to give a little bit of the business here to our good friend Donnie, who I love, great friend of the show, and somebody whose opinion I sincerely respect. But Giulia is the quintessential indie style, spelt like the shortened version of Indianapolis, not with an IE. I'm going to be the grammar police today, Donnie. The Indianapolis wrestling? What? No, stop it. No, it's IE, independent wrestling, that we're discussing here. And next of all, defined by her moves and spots. Stop. That's just a trope and a cliche. Knock that off. Because Giulia has, as the kids would say these days, a deep bag, and she's got aura. If you see her entrance and all of that. I actually thought the pairing with the manager made a lot of sense at the time. But I still have a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. He did add, Donnie, you saved yourself here. I'm kidding. Mary is correct. They hoped the belt would make Giulia, and they were wrong. Yeah, I think that's exactly what the plan was. I'm with that. DCX Warlord with Giulia was buried. That it did feel like that. And Louise said the same thing. It made her look weak, which that's what's frustrating to me, because Chelsea Green, to me, this should have been more stolen than it was, given Chelsea's character, given who Chelsea is on television week in and week out. It made Chelsea look like as good of a wrestler as Giulia, too. And even Donnie, with what he said about the moves or the thing, it didn't make her look. Let's at least use that advantage in booking then, if that's the scenario, if that's all we can do. Right? Let's at least see that out. It didn't feel like that. It felt like Chelsea Green just was the better woman on this night and got the victory. Mary, it was a little bit much early when you said getting rid of the U.S. women's title. I think that's too early, right? We disagree with that at first, but this is what I want to send back to you is, how do we fix it here? Because I think the Chelsea Green story is going to be related to Tuesday night, given the North American Championship picture, given the mixed tag title stuff that has been booked on Tuesday night on NXT. I think the next step has to be Chelsea playing that out. From there, though, we have an opportunity to make the U.S. title feel more important. I think Becky Lynch has done an amazing job, or did an amazing job, with the IC title and making that feel as important as it should. How do we fix this, though, is the question, and it's a difficult one that I want to ask you, Mary.
And to say the least, it's not really difficult. It's just trust your title holder. Let your title holder want to have some direction here. If they're just gonna, not to be mean, like the men's US champ, if you're just gonna go kind of the simpler route with the open challenge or just like a mystery opponent or just, oh, I'll defend it at the next pay-per-view, you could kind of just start over like that in a sense. You could just kind of say, hey, you know what? I'm the champ now. Let's do this next pay-per-view. Whoever wants the smoke, come get the smoke, rather than just having minimalist feuds, no long-term storytelling, and then, like I said earlier, everything just falls flat. And then we just all that momentum just went to a real screeching halt.
It does almost feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, and Chelsea Green is a veteran, but a stronger veteran than Chelsea as far as in-ring work needs to handle the US title, because the Intercontinental title on the women's side feels like the workers belt that the IC title is supposed to feel like.
100%.
Right?
100%.
The US title does not feel like that. It sort of feels like a vanity project in some way.
Kind of like I hate to say this word, but like a prop. I don't want to say that word because I'm a theater kid. I don't like saying props because
100%.
Props are supposed to have meaning still, in a sense, rather than just decor. It's not just arm decor that you wear on a weekly basis. Have it mean something, especially being so new.
And it's interesting because of the fact that, oh, no, Donnie, that is not what I'm saying at all. I think she's a great worker. Character-wise, Donnie, character-wise, she isn't somebody that's going to go out and wrestle a match where she's dominating the match in any way. She's not a dominant type worker. She's an amazing worker in every way, but her character doesn't fit the person that goes out and just beats Giulia. Like, I have been criticizing too many shenanigans lately in finishes. I would have wanted more shenanigans for Giulia to lose this title to Chelsea this time. Oddly, I will say, though, we got this comment here, and it just tickled me. DCX Warlord, I want you to know you made my day. Clark is my OTC, and Mary is the final boss. No doubt about it. I appreciate that for sure.
Best comment ever.
Yes, she is a heel, and yes, she did cheat to win. It just still feels like, for Giulia's sake, the end of the run, because here's my problem with it, Mary, and I didn't mean to cut you off there, but here's my big issue is what doesn't feel like is next is a Giulia-Chelsea rematch. And I would have at least liked to have seen that if this is the route we were going. What do you think?
And I feel like they should have had a couple matches before this was an actual championship match to get a couple cheating losses on her belt to kind of scare her, to say, hey, you're going to eventually lose all your momentum. And then once she actually gets that decimating loss and loses the belt, you could have had your Kiana James angle. You screwed me. You screwed me to lose. Then that way afterwards, it just didn't seem like, all right, we're done. She won. Off in the audience.
No doubt.
She goes to Triple A and goes be's a wonderful worker there. But then again, what does that do for that belt? What does that do?
That's where, with this mixed tag thing that's booked between Joe Hendry and, of course, Thea Hale against Chelsea Green and All Ego. Now you've got the whole continent represented by Chelsea and All Ego, right? Which is awesome. You've got all of them basically carrying. You've got the whole continent covered, is my point. And where I'm at on this is, it's so telegraphed that Joe Hendry and Thea Hale are winning these titles. That's what it feels like too. It's weird. It feels like it affects another show, which is just not something I expected. But speaking of things that I didn't expect, but man, am I starting to appreciate. Let's talk about the men's U.S. title picture, because Ilya Dragunov has another wild defense and a victory via an H-bomb against Johnny Gargano here. Johnny Wrestling. I have such a love-hate thing with Johnny Gargano. I can't lie to you, Mary. I've always felt just when he's about to be as over as I want him to be, it gets corny. And now isn't that time? So this match was off the charts. I didn't necessarily expect the open challenge from Dragunov to continue after Sami Zayn lost the title. I thought that was sort of Sami's thing. And it was like, no, wait, that's the new deal. I loved this, and then I really loved the intensity level post-match out of Dragunov. And Ilya Dragunov as the U.S. champion makes a lot of sense, but this one, I never in my wildest dreams thought Johnny Gargano had a shot in the world at winning this match. So if I am going to complain, that's my issue with it. I do want to ask you, though, Mary, your thoughts at least on the match and then the fallout afterwards.
Well, to start, the overall match I felt like was fantastic. I personally just love Johnny Wrestling. I don't really like Johnny Gargano, if you get what I'm saying. The character and the guy that's in the ring, I feel like are two different people. And I like you said, I'm so torn with Johnny and how relatively he's been booked, especially coming back and forth with DIY and that being his only sense of direction, when I feel like he's so good just by himself. And I felt like Ilya kind of planting the seeds, saying to Tommaso, oh, I'd rather fight Johnny instead of you because, you know, you're a, you know, and I loved it. I loved the whole segment with that to kind of showcase how talented each guy are. Even though they're in a team, Ilya kind of like put a separate spotlight on each of them to show that like they are two separate competitors. They can, no pun intended, do it yourself. And I feel like Johnny Wrestling just needs to be Johnny Wrestling. No more little brother antics.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore. And do it yourself implies like not a tag team. I've never gotten over that in my eyes, right? Like,
and that's why name, I just the name.
It's brutal. It's brutal there. I will say this. I find it kind of funny. Sami Zayn afterwards going in and begging Nick Aldis, not to change the subject, but begging Nick Aldis to be at ringside, and then them saying Sammy's not cleared. And yet Corey Graves has been on commentary for how many years at ringside? Like, and that bothered me. I really, really enjoy Nick Aldis's work as GM, but that felt like a loophole. I'm like, wait, Corey Graves isn't cleared. We all know that. Like, felt a little insulting. Did you catch that too, or was that just me, Mary?
I completely agree. I thought like, why not have him there? What for him to not be medically cleared? I mean, like you said, Corey Graves isn't medically cleared. I mean, not to be mean, Michael Cole takes more bumps than he does. So with that in mind, I was like, well, unless Nick Aldis is turning heel as we speak too. I mean, is everybody turning heel? That's what I'm wondering, because Nick Aldis, I felt, was such a heel last night. He was getting as good, like how he was back in what was that promotion he was in? NWA.
Yes.
I mean, when he was over there. Fantastic.
Sincerely, like I just found it bizarre. I was like, okay, wait, what? What do you mean? Like, be at ringside. I get maybe don't be physical. Maybe you can set something up like that to tell a story, but it didn't feel like a story was really told. And that's where I was a little bit, oh, geez, Louise. Donnie with Mr. Corrector Donnie here with Graves was cleared to return already. hence the reason he took those amazing bumps from Lesnar. Yes, but how many years did he commentate while not being cleared, Donnie? Does my point still not remain? I'm sorry, you tell me. That's on me, I guess. My bad, boss. No, but still, let's talk real quickly about a few things that we got coming up. Obviously, we got the weekly podcast coming out Monday of next week. There were some Allison analyses that were pushed back. If you haven't checked out the top 10 to retire Cena show, it's a classic. And then there will be the top 5 takes of the week that were released yesterday. You're going to see me, Ben, and Shoddy tomorrow on Sunday. Fun day. But today's a Saturday and it's still a fun day. So we're going to keep this going. And then there's Donnie with yes, but he's been cleared for 2 years. That's all you're saying. He hasn't been cleared. No, I said that he commentated while not being cleared is what I meant. And if I improperly said it, I will apologize first and foremost. But what I won't apologize for is how I'm going to talk about this Lash Legend debut. Because here's the deal. I think Lash Legend is awesome. She's figured it out, the look. She's also been trusted in spots that I wouldn't have expected a star that hasn't been called up to this point to be trusted in. And including alongside a former tag partner, Jakar Jackson. And we're very clearly building these women's tag belts, Mary. And thankfully, I have you on the show so I can ask a woman about her thoughts on this. But Lash Legend had an established tag team that made perfect sense. Now we're going to pair her alongside Nia Jax, where she is the smaller of the two. And it feels like I loved the debut, but it feels like a litmus test. It's like, okay, you were the big strong one in the old tag team. Let's see if you can be the other. I'm not sure, but it has to be a Nia and Lash pairing in some regard. If they don't win the titles, Mary, why in the wide world of sports would they have done this?
And it's like what we were talking about with DIY, let alone let's kind of talk about a certain other frenemy team that became besties and then they are not besties anymore. Cough, cough, Bronson Reed, cough, cough, Seth Rollins. You know, when they were feuding prior to joining, we were interested. I was a little kind of let down with this Lash Legend and Nia pairing, only for the sense of there was no kind of extra meat and potatoes to this stew that they were cooking when they had their really good bout in NXT. Like, I enjoyed their match, even though we wanted a particular someone to be with another partner. I'm so sorry, Mara. We love you, Mara. You know, but at the end of the day, we want to see Lash succeed. We wanted her on the main roster for so long. She had no direction in NXT. When Nia came over there, I felt like that was the first little oomph of singles storytelling for her. And again, I felt like they just didn't do anything. They didn't do anything with that, to where they just kind of, all right, you're friends now. You know, an enemy of my enemy is my friend. You know, I get it.
Yeah.
But not everyone can do that. Not everybody can do that.
I'm so with you, Mary. It felt like here's the new tag team. Like, once again, like, look, Lash likes Nia because they have the same enemies. You couldn't have broke that down more perfectly, Mary. I'm on the exact same page. It's like, shoot, we had a real shot. And here's what bothers me. If we're going to build a women's tag division, and we're doing it in both companies, AEW and WWE, so I'm talking about this like 3 times a week. We had really good, legitimate women's tag teams at certain times. The Bella Twins, right? The Iconics, the Inspiration. Lash and Jakara.
It was right there. They fought for the belts before. I don't know why they never stayed. I don't get it.
Yeah, and I'm with Donnie here, though. It has to be, right?
It has to be. If
Ja-
there's
Ja-
no end goal of that.
Nia Jax and Lash Legend have to win. And this is what's interesting. D6 Warlord, I would agreed with you 99 out of 100 times on this one. TNA has a better women's tag division. I'd say
Facts.
historically, right now it's bleak too. Right this second, it's also bleak. That's what the worst part is like there's this narrative about the women's tag belts, and it just seems I hate the negativity. It's like gives me the creepy crawlies. I don't like it. It's not fun. And
Especially
I'm hoping
to something that's good.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that Lash and Nia can really actually inject something into that, because you know what? Let's flip it back to some positive right now. Charlotte and Alexa have done a heck of a job. They really did. They figured it out. Yeah, absolutely. And there's been some good stuff over on AEW as well. I'm not Harley Cameron monster shout out. No spoilers here at WR, but she's definitely in the conversation on a few of my faction of the week things that you'll find out about on Monday. But for me, it is fascinating, the timing too. So we're going to insert Lash into a new. TJ is a great call. TJ is a great call.
Great call.
But to insert Lash back into a tag team situation as her call-up opportunity, that also seems weak too, considering since Chikara's been released, she's been working as a single star.
Right there. That's right. I shake my head when a fallen opportunity like that just slips right through the cracks. What a shame.
It is interesting, but let's get into the main event of not only our evening, afternoon, morning, depends on where you are geographically, but the main event of last night's evening, Cody versus Aleister Black. Obviously, we had Mary shenanigans. This one ends in a no contest. We got Nick Aldis involved. We had Claymore kicks. We had Drew McIntyre involved. Aleister Black versus Cody is fun as could be. I dig it. They put on a heck of a match along the way. In no world did I see a possibility that Aleister Black would win this match. And of course, Drew McIntyre ends up being suspended by the end of it. I find it funny, given the finish of the Drew Cody match. Like, wait, why didn't Cody get suspended for DDTing him on the belt? Huh? I don't understand. And I feel a little insulted by that one, Mary, personally, but it is what it is. Drew Cody does not seem to be ending anytime soon. I want to get your thoughts on this, but also where does Aleister Black go from here? Because he can only answer so many United States Open challenges the next few weeks.
Justice for Drew McIntyre, man. Justice. That man has been chasing gold since the bloodline. Let that man touch it for longer than 24 hours. Please. I'm in agony over this horrendous booking of Drew McIntyre. We know he is probably one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion. In my opinion, I don't know what anybody else thinks. From a young girl to see a man that was in the 3-man band go from that to the Scottish psychopath. The evolution of Drew McIntyre is so good to just not give him a run. Give him at least one run. He had a run with no crowd. I can't tell you how defeating that must feel for him to just be still chasing. And now that we're unfortunately not in the pandemic anymore and we're not staring at a crowd in a screen, he wants his big. I feel like he's chasing smoke. I think he needs to come to Raw, let alone Aleister Black. I don't think he's going to be doing any more United States Open challenges anytime soon. I just think we need a brand split. I'm all in on the brand split now.
Stick with
we're
it for real.
stick
Dude.
with it and actually mean it with who's on what and who's with what. Because now that, like right now with this John Cena's Last Time Is Now, we're getting a little bit of a crossover with everybody. NXT, Raw, we're all going to be kind of fighting together. But that shouldn't mean we intertwine our main event storylines like that.
It is sketchy as could be the way it is. And I've got something Mary, I want to get on off my chest. It's been weighing on me heavily for quite some time now. And I may not be the person to deliver this message when it comes to Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. But this is what I want to say. Drew Galloway was Cody Rhodes before Cody Rhodes. Nobody got messed around by the pandemic more than Drew McIntyre. That's an absolute fact. The peak of Cody Rhodes' rise was at the same time as Drew McIntyre's. They happened to happen in separate promotions. Drew's happened at WrestleMania 36 in the Performance Center. He defeated Brock Lesnar. He was the biggest babyface in the industry. He was Cody. Cody made that rise alongside Brody Lee in AEW. And then he showed up at WrestleMania 38, not 1, but 2 years later. We forget about the rained out, not really rained out, but pseudo rained out WrestleMania 37 with half fans the year after 36. Drew McIntyre deserves better. And I don't know how we ever get him back to where he was at that time. I don't think it's possible. But I also don't know how we ever get Cody back to where he was when the story wasn't finished. Because his most valuable asset is gone. It is. That story's over. Now he is everything he ever wanted to be. What mountain does he have left to climb? Because it's not Drew McIntyre. And if the WWE creative team does not insert these things into the storyline, my intelligence is being insulted. And that's the problem I have with this. That's what bothers me. That's what bothers me the most. Because Cody Rhodes needs to have to climb another mountain if you want to feel the way you felt last year, the year before, about Cody Rhodes finishing the story. Something has to change there. And I don't actually think it's an internal solution when it comes to Cody Rhodes. It's not on him. I may not be the guy to deliver the message because you've heard me be highly critical of Cody Rhodes. But at the end of the day, I actually don't even think it's his fault. He needs a foe to overcome, somebody opposite him that really scares you. If Drew can somehow within this become that'd be great. But unfortunately, my belief is there's only one person on the planet right now that answers that question, and that's rubber match Roman Reigns. I think that's where we have to go to fix the Cody situation. And Mary, obviously, we talked about brand split before. That would defy that. There's no debate about that, right? That would be the one situation where, you'd probably make an exception, I would say. I'm not speaking on your behalf, but I would at least make an exception. I think that the only way to get Cody back to the level of praise, the level of love that he was at his peak, is to set him opposite Roman Reigns again and put that on a poster, my friend.
And I think they tried to do it when Cena turned heel. And at the end of the day, when Cena turned heel, we all knew within our hearts we were still going to cheer him. And we weren't going to cheer for the person that they wanted to cheer. And I think Roman's the tribal chief, or like how DCX Warlord called me earlier, the final boss. Do we call the final boss to solve this problem? Because Roman Reigns or The Rock are not on a specific roster. And if I'm wrong, you guys could correct me later. I don't think Roman or The Rock are on any specific brand right
I
now.
think technically Roman's on Raw.
But is he though? Is he
No. I'm not even trying to argue with you. I was just saying, like, that's the only comment you might get. Like that, but I'm on the same page.
I think after he lost to Bronson Reed, I think that's where Roman as well kind of rebuilds himself and then goes and gets his belt back. Goes away, and then he goes and gets his belt back. He knocks down the MFTs, because the moment he shows up and he stares at Solo Sikoa again, I know they'll probably have one more feud, and we're all gonna watch it again. We're gonna be patient with them. But I think right now, if they don't do this split, Tribal Chief jump to SmackDown and save the main event scene.
Okay, so on that note, Mary, we've got some extra time before we finish the show. Here's the question. So you've built what I think between WrestleMania 39 and 40, one of the greatest WrestleMania rivalries of all time, with Cody Roman 1, Cody Roman 2. Not only do I love Stone Cold and Rock, obviously you had that basically every 2 years for a 6-year stretch. We got it 3 times. But I also love Rocky, the movie series. When do we get Rocky 3? When do we get the rubber match? If it's not this year, then when? Because there is obviously, there's the worry about Roman Reigns walking away and going to Hollywood, doing different things. He has a lot of things on the table here. I have always believed one of the most important things when it comes to creative and professional wrestling is strike while the iron is hot. Don't wait. Don't wait too long. Don't wait too long. Waiting too long is worse than not waiting long enough.
Exactly.
And I think Roman Reigns, Cody 3, Vegas. Guess what? Of the last 3 Manias, the only times that Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes have not locked up in a main event match is in Las Vegas. We know it's in Saudi Arabia for WrestleMania 43, but WrestleMania 42, main event, Cody Roman, put it on that poster in Vegas. You can right some wrongs from last year. I think the time is now, in the words of the great John Cena, who we won't see any longer after December. But what are your thoughts on that, Mary? When do you think the time is for a trilogy? And it's interesting because Fernando added all stories don't need to be a trilogy. And they don't, but this one's a tie.
Yeah, this one is a tie. I think between these 2 stars alone, I'm sorry, Fernando, there needs to be a trilogy. And if it's not going to be in Vegas, they shouldn't do it anymore. It should stop. Because at the end of the day, Roman's away now. If he's not going to come back and continue to fight with the Vision for the quadrillionth shoes stealing day later, I don't know. But at the end of the day, too, Cody has to realize he can only be, like how you said, at the top of the mountain for so long. And when he gets to that familiar foe, he has to deliver too. Cody kind of lost me after the beat with Cena. Him not being the true heel that we all know that he is, and we gave it to the wrong person. You failed. I feel like you failed there. It could have been a complete different direction to where if Roman Reigns decided the trilogy, I felt like a heel Cody Rhodes being humbled by the true tribal chief. There's your main event there.
To your point, think of it this way. We've been begging for Cody to turn heel for a long time now. And there's the debate always. Is he gonna? Is he not? When is he gonna do it? It's gonna be Homelander. He looks like Homelander. He always looks like Homelander. Right? There's the whole, that's how the conversation happens every time. If he was ever gonna turn heel against anyone, Roman Reigns is the perfect guy to do it against at WrestleMania.
perfect.
Are you kidding me? Because the crowd finally wants to root for Roman. We talked about like the crowd finally wants to root for Cena. The crowd finally wants to root for Roman. Now, Fernando, okay. Respect. That is well played. The third act is never as good as the second act. Ask the Godfather Part 3, LOL.
Right.
No doubt. I
All
will
right,
say, though, I mean, I don't know. There's been some pretty darn good trilogies back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Ask Ollie and Frazier how that third act went. It was pretty good, and I think Rocky 3 is the best of the movie series. So that conversation will leave for another time. But speaking of conversations, we'll leave for another time. That does bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much, everybody that tuned in on behalf of all of us at WR, including especially me, Clark, and Mary. The final boss, Mary, that is all elite Mary, only on Thursdays, though.
That's true.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. More importantly, though, hit the notifications button. That helps us out a ton. I didn't even know it helped us out. I would have been asking that favor months ago if I'd have known. But I just recently learned that. Sincerely, though, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, a great Saturday. We've got awesome wrestling coming up. Check out all the other stuff on the WR page and everything. Monster shout out. Have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.